Hello, and welcome to our HR podcast, AI in Action HR Edition, podcast number 4. Today we have wonderful guest Anita Pagin, who will introduce herself in a moment. I'm Anastasia Volkova, and I'm here with my bestie and my business partner, Magdalena Oraskanin. Over to you, Magdalena.
Thank you so much, Anastasia, and welcome, Anita, as well. So, we are very happy to have you here today. And I'm especially excited because Anita and myself, we actually got introduced over our community, Women in and AI. And a big shout out to our community here. So, it's the power of the community and the power of LinkedIn that actually makes us connect. And Anita, you are a head of people and talent for a long time already. You are a people leader and you are in the field of AI. So I'm very much excited to discuss all of these topics with you today. If you want, please introduce yourself quickly.
Thank you so much for having me here. Good shout out to Jenny and Rayut for making this introduction. They're doing fantastic stuff in AI, and especially as women leaders. I used to work with them
Yes.
years ago. I'm from Silicon Valley out here, so I'm head of people and talent in the Silicon Valley startup scene, and so I work very closely with engineers, and I'm just totally obsessed with AI. So there's a world of amazing goodness ahead of us, a long journey ahead of AI and what it can do to up level all of us.
I totally agree, Anita, on this one. And I think it's the madness and the craziness about AI that brings us all together, right? Because we totally enjoy this topic. So everyone talking about AI, everyone is crazy about it, speaking about how to upskill on AI, how to get the skills, how to implement AI, and how to get up and running when it comes to artificial intelligence. So either speaking about Gen AI, automations, custom AI solutions, you name it. But there is one point about this whole AI discussion that we sometimes miss, which is the communication part. And as to start, Anita, I would like to ask you, so how do you see what role communication plays in terms of AI implementation, and how crucial is it actually?
Yeah, we all struggle with communication, and I think especially when it comes to managing up. And so I tend to take a bottoms up approach in my coaching style. And because we're coming out of this pandemic era, I think we all got more used to interaction autonomously through like Slack or Microsoft Teams and chats, as opposed to just talking like you and I are right now. And
Yeah.
when you're talking right now, you can't go back to edit. You're basically taking these thoughts in your head and just blurping them out. And that's really hard and it's disconnected. And sometimes you say things that you don't really mean. And a lot of times we don't know ourselves enough or are aware enough to even know like how do we feel. Sometimes like that primary emotion of anger is actually disappointment, or maybe that primary emotion of frustration is actually resentment. And so we don't even speak with really knowing the full evidence behind it. I like using AI to be my brainstorming partner. I have created some custom GPTs to have unfiltered conversations with me, myself, and I. And it's a brainstorming partner for all parts of my life, from professional to personal. And in my capacity, I've been this team of one. So I don't have a collaborator to kind of pick apart things. I'm looking for kind of somebody to probe it out of me in some ways or not. You know, I'm so good at probing everybody else, but I'm not good about probing myself. It's kind of like when we sit down and start to journal, like, what do I write about today? What am I going to start with? Right.
Good
So
point.
I like to pick it apart using AI and just have an unfiltered conversation with myself and really um, put it all together into a nice, neat, concise package. The details at the end of the day don't matter. It's the tone, it's the delivery, and it's how we show up. Because I promise you, 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year from now, people will not remember the details of whatever conversation, but they will remember how you made them feel and what that
Oh,
tone was. And sometimes you can actually change that tone in AI. Now, I work in a world of Silicon Valley, and I've chosen a career path that's been centered around engineers. I have a superpower in recruiting the most niche engineers out there, computational geometrists, algorithm engineers, whatnot. And I've been very fortunate. I've been working with some engineers that have really high emotional intelligence, but they still need to work on their communication. And these are the elements that we can actually gain from AI to help up level some of the people who may or may not get stuck in their career because AI takes away some of their jobs in the future. All of us are going to have a challenge in how we step into our next role or two or three as AI emerges. And it's going to reshape us in terms of what we know of ourselves professionally. And I'm predicting the difference is going to be the human centric side. AI cannot do all of it for us. We can have a conversation with it and ask it to change its tone, but it's not going to be the interaction that you and I are having right now today.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right. I mean, the crucial difference is that the language model can be very strong in AI, and it can help a lot with brainstorming and rewriting letters. We can see a lot with candidates writing very nice letters, and then when they come to interviews, the tone changes.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but ultimately, of course, it cannot feel right, and it doesn't have that creativity part, right, out of the box thinking. It still thinks within the parameters that were given to it by the humans.
For me, I actually find I gain some creativity in using AI. It takes some of my ridiculous, quirky ideas and helps me package it into something that I actually can create further. But it does require me to keep massaging it. It's a conversation. So it's not like one or two prompts. And I think that's one of the areas that people are misguided. They think, oh, I just need these ChatGPT prompts. No, I'm going to actually make the claim that you need to keep prompting and having a full conversation with your AI to get there. I did this really quirky banana bread presentation for my team. And there's some meaning behind that because every Tuesday I bake them a banana bread. And the concept was about breaking bread and connecting with each other. But there was a topic that came up in monthly one-on-ones where they wanted to learn how to influence. And what I did in this is compared the ripe bananas for banana bread to the receptiveness of the other person receiving your influence or your message. And so my claim was the riper the banana, the better, right? And but if you have too many ripe bananas, it could go south, or if it's not ripe enough, whatnot.
Totally.
But every ingredient, like the flour, the eggs, the baking soda, the sugar, had a purpose to making that bread just right and being able to influence that idea. My team loved it. It was a way to connect over bread, which is something that meant something to them, but it also gave them a skill development and a very quick and easy presentation that they could read and ask questions. And an analogy is so much easier. It gives you a visual context. But
yeah.
in no means would I have taken only like I mean I must have done put that together in less than an hour. I would not have been able to do that without I would have
Yeah.
That's
really
mhm.
been pulling around my brain, like, how do I put this together? I literally went to AI, said, I got this quirky idea. I want to make banana bread in a presentation relating to the ripe bananas. And I was like putting all the ideas together. And then I came up with the outline and then I was filling in the gaps. Right. And I swear I pulled it together in like 30 minutes.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
That's
time saver.
fantastic.
Yeah.
right? So efficient, so easy, and it was quirky and fun. I enjoyed doing it. They enjoyed receiving it. So
And I think also, Anita, what you are saying, coming back to the engineers, but obviously we don't want to put anyone in a box. There are plenty of
yeah,
people out there that maybe have some difficulties when it comes to communication, or they are not sure because they are, I don't know, shy. They are more of introverts. So speaking about these kind of people, it is easy for them to have a conversation with the AI, maybe in terms of, practicing an icebreaker. I don't know how to call it, but this could be helpful. Or looking at interviews, for example. We have this case quite often that we are speaking to candidates that are saying, yeah, but I don't know how to prepare because they don't want to speak to someone else. So the border is a bit easier for them to pass if they know maybe this is not a real person. I can talk to an AI, but it will help me to get better in the way that I'm communicating. Plus, you can even tell the large language model that who is the person you are going to speak to. So it can kind of give you some tips. What is the best way of communicating to either a VP or a manager or whatever the position is? The person is working in a large multinational company, the person is working in an SME, maybe it's a founder, maybe it's the first time they're hiring, etc., etc. So the possibilities are, just endless.
less.
And I think this can really help.
So I'm going to actually make the argument that engineers still really they have a hardship with AI just as much as someone like ourselves who's more HR tilted. They do not think about using AI for communication. The first thing they're thinking about is correcting their code, quality assurance, things like that. There was a few conversations I had coaching some of my engineers where we were talking about planning their engineering scope and how to get to their goals. So I would suggest I'm like, why don't you have a conversation with AI and literally load up what is my desired goal? What is my minimally viable goal? What is my missed opportunity goal? Right. And then work from the missed as the failure and prepare for that, but then work towards your ideal or desired goal. And it was a concept that they just did not even consider. It was like, oh, interesting. And then I think it was one or two went away, practiced it, came back and like, wow, this is different. So again, I don't think people think of AI as that kind of a tool. I think we need more learning and development around this and just how to use it and make it like your interaction partner and not just oh, because our closest reference is Google search, right? We plug something in Google search, something comes out. That's our closest reference. Now that we have ChatGPT, Claude, all these different AI tools, Perplexity, now we've kind of just gone away from Google and we're using these tools. And while we're still putting in like a basic prompt, people might actually put some criteria, some constraints, write me a resume or help me prepare this interview question with this, and this. Well, that's great and all. But what if people took it further and actually created, like, say, a custom GPT that emulated a career coach where you practice your interview and
Oh, yeah.
got questions and answers based on the job description, and you're able to literally practice in real time what your answers would look like. You got feedback as opposed to copy and paste, copy and paste. I can't tell you how much I hate the copy and paste. When I get resumes, cover letters, interview questions given to me, I could totally tell. I could tell there is a GPT style. And I
Yeah.
don't like it because I'm not hiring GPT. I'm hiring you. I want to know you. So it's
Then the human component kicks in.
yeah, yeah. So
When you
it's like
hear words like unparalleled, and you then you know, okay, it's gone through ChatGPT.
yeah, exactly. Now, am I against them using it to come up with some of the content or to formulate their thoughts? Not at all. I think that's so cool. I want them to, but not to use it as a crutch and do the copy and paste. That I'm like, Womp womp. Let's be more intellectual and use it as our partner, right? And
And let's be human, because as you said, we are hiring a human being
that's
in the end. So
right.
let's
That's right.
really, yes,
Well,
let's be human. We are craving for this.
and to actually argue with the GPT or whatever AI you're using and push back. I actually do that all day long with mine. And I love it. There's been times I've even said, "You're fired. This is not the answer I'm looking for." I've had to reframe the question several times and like, "Why are you doing this?" Sometimes there's good days and bad days, but you have to be, as a human being on the other side, you have to push back and say, is this the answer I want? Is this the best answer? Is this the correct answer? Because it's not always going to be correct either. It's technology is going to fail us. It's on us
Absolutely.
to take and interpret and have an intellectual response to it and use what you want to use. Whether that's 70% of the outcome, the rest of it's you. But it's on you to formulate the instructions and to give it feedback and push back, push back, push back. I train mine to always ask questions at the end so that it trains me to keep going back and push.
Well, I'm looking at Magdalena, and Magdalena is looking at me for the next question. Good, we're getting synced now. So I wanted to add a bit of a swing to it, asking about leadership, right? So here we talk about AI, individual versus AI, and how you can interact with it, and how it can help you with your communication. And how can AI help us with leadership and with leaders? What sort of things have you seen? What sort of things have you advised to your leaders? How to use AI to help them to be on the leadership competitive edge, or to be the best selves as leaders?
Yeah, so listen, I think we're like 2, 3 years into like a really long journey of 20 years of AI. And so there's a lot of tools that are emerging that I'm hearing about where there's like bots that you could even ask your managers to jump on for like real-time feedback with their direct reports. I love the concept because what it's doing is it's creating habitual patterns that maybe they wouldn't have done, or that they don't make it into a everyday practice. And it's getting to a sense of recording that as well. So, because you don't recall like 3 months from now, like, I gave Jane this feedback. How did that go, or how was that worded, right? So it's maybe more documented. But I'm going to say, again, kind of to our points earlier, it's taking away the human centric side of it. So I feel like these tools on the market are going to continue to shape and shift. And what we believe that we like today is not going to be what we like in 6 months or 1 year, or certainly not 2 or 3. And certainly we might see newer, sexier versions of the same tools as more feedback emerges. But I feel that we have to just kind of come back to the basics. We know some jobs are going to be replaced by AI. And what we need to do as leaders is we need to skill develop our teams and
Yeah.
really recognize and show how we could create a workforce that flexes and adapts to AI. So if I have a team of engineers and I see this is coming, what ways do I build learning and development curriculum and offer learning development programs, courses, things like that, conferences for my team to begin to put their toe out there and work on these skills. My prediction is that these engineers especially need to learn those EQ skills, but I'm going to say not just engineers, doctors, nurses, people,
Yeah.
fire, police. I think areas of compliance is going to get really sticky. When it comes to AI, we have to find ways to bring AI into some of these, very strange fields like police and fire, but at the same time, working with compliance, right? Like construction industry has a ton of compliance, insurance industry, a ton of compliance, HIPAA, blah, 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 blah. It just goes on forever. So I feel strongly that it's about skill development around AI and growing our careers around that adaptability. And I think it starts with just clarifying the AI role, demystifying it. That's where we need to start. And then the learning and development. Because I don't believe that we really have gotten under demystifying it. And I think there's still a lot of people who are very, very scared of AI. And I'm not going to even categorize it from age, right? Some of us who are older are definitely scared. But I would say the younger generation is scared too. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
I think it doesn't depend on the age. It depends more on the experience that you have had with AI, the exposure, the possibilities, obviously, because we also spoke about this in another podcast. There are organizations that are investing massively in the upskilling of their workforce, but then others are not at all. And then how do you feel as an employee, depending on the job you are at, depending on the organization you work for, if your organization is not doing anything in terms of AI, if they are not even communicating about this? So it really depends where you stand in your current life to address those concerns and those fears.
yeah,
And as you say, there are so many myths around AI that people still don't get, that are simply not true, completely made up, or just out there to scare people because of I don't know even what. But it's true. People need to be educated very much on the whole AI and how it actually works, first of all, and what happens, with all
right.
of this and where it goes. I mean, no one of us knows where it goes, because every day, constantly, something changes in this world around artificial intelligence. So many new tools, providers, things coming up. But we don't know where it goes, but we can educate ourselves in terms of not to be scared.
So many companies are actually even limiting the AI usage, which is a little bit strange to me. It's like, no,
Oh,
let's
wow.
experiment. Let's experiment. Let's fail 19 times until we get it right. In my view, we're not going to mobilize and have people rise in their development unless we play with it and
Yes,
get familiar with
absolutely.
it, the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to compare it to the internet. Do you remember there was a time when the internet just came out? And it's foggy for me because I was much younger, and I know you guys were too. But do you remember? I mean, there was such a weirdness around it. And I remember people were weird about the chat rooms, and because I was a younger girl at the time, I was told by strict, you know, rules. You do not go into these chat rooms. You don't do this. You don't do that. And I remember back then, the internet was only available to select homes, but also a select computer lab in the school system. And it was that dial up, you got mail, remember? And now it's like so common that we've got like an average of 4 to 6 devices going on at the same time
Yeah.
with internet, right? As soon as we're in a pocket of a space where there's no internet access, we're like, what? This is 2024. Come on. If we're prompted 24.99 for internet access, we're like, what? Like, that's highway robbery, right? I feel like
Yeah.
that's going to be the same thing with AI. Like, AI will become free, it will be everyday usage, but we need to learn how to use it. And,
I
and
agree. I was
that's,
So,
about to say the same thing. That so, and there was also around .com bubble, right? And there was a lot of fear around that. Oh, we're gonna lose our jobs. It's the same like with the industrial revolution. And some people did lose their job, but then better jobs came up. So I feel the same can be with AI. All these repetitive tasks, for example, HR is going on about. We have a lot of them in HR. They can finally go, right? They can be outsourced to AI, and we can do more human component. we discussed it. There is a lot of fear around that, like HR. Sometimes they want to get rid of these tasks, but then at the same time they're afraid. What if I get rid of these tasks? What is my time going to be filled with?
Well,
Um,
Well, let's look at real estate agents, right? Before the internet, we relied on a realtor to drive us around, look at homes. We relied on them to find these homes for us. We otherwise could not do it. Now, we actually are telling a realtor, I want to look at these 20 homes, and or not even that, I've already looked at these homes, I want to make an offer on this home. The job of a realtor has significantly changed, right? They're now all about the contract and the negotiations, and about the commission structure, as opposed to actually finding the homes, right? So I think AI is going to change how we receive information, but how we also locate it. So those jobs that may go away may just streamline or be decoupled in another direction altogether. I think where I'm the most concerned are the more junior resources coming out of like the university level, because I don't think the universities have necessarily caught up, because we don't know what the jobs are going to look like for new entry level candidates coming out of the university programs, and so
Some of them don't even exist yet.
don't.
So they will basically just come up. And as you say, we don't know yet how they will look like.
Right.
We don't know what will be the next, degrees that you are getting in university, because the educational system already also has to rethink their approach. What are the programs we want to offer for students now? So they should actually be in the real driving seat, starting to drive the change
Yeah.
in order to prepare actually people that are starting to become employees, not to be afraid of somehow losing their job, because they know I am studying something that has future. And it has always been like this.
Well,
So,
let's imagine
Anita,
for a moment that could be like, instead of some of those normal coursework, classes, it could be critical
yeah.
thinking, problem solving, coming up with some of those, the same learning development that we're talking about how you feed the information to AI, instead of just, the coursework that they offer. It's maybe how to approach it, and think differently, think it on your own, that human centric way.
That's true. So, how do you actually think that organizations can address those concerns that employees have regarding AI and also talent mobility? Because we also wanted to speak about this field.
Yeah, I think that's a challenging area, because in my mind, we need to create like an adaptive culture that promotes experimentation. And experimentation doesn't quite fit into the productivity culture that we've now created in the last several years, right? We've been going through the last like 4 or 5 years, we've had a lot of layoffs and rifts, and a lot of swings, right? We went from, uh, you know, this roller coaster of job movement. And I fear we're going to continue to do that for a while. And what we need to do is slow that down, but embrace experimentation to make this work. And I feel that that means then we have to create some sense of job security. Um, and I think, just like we saw like the great resignation, I think we're going through a great realignment now. I was just talking about this yesterday with one of my favorite technical leaders, Jens, and he called it out. I was like, yes, great realignment. Boom. I think this is where we're at. Is right now it's an employer's market, but employees, team members, the candidate pool is really deep in introspection and how and where they're going in their careers. And they have just so many question marks as to how they're going to do that. And that's where AI is going to be a struggle to really paint very specific career leveling or career paths. And this is where I bring that, like, a concept of like talent mobility. I feel like in HR, talent mobility will emerge. It's not a role that's here today, but I'm all for it in the future. I would love that role. And in my eyes, talent mobility is building that Gen AI literacy. It's
Yeah.
building this concept of working from anywhere. It's I I'm going to first say I'm a fan of working in an office. I love that visibility and I like to connect. But the reality is I cannot do that every day with everyone that I want to interact with. Case in point, I'm in Silicon Valley and you're abroad. This is our new normal, so we must embrace it. So we have to be able to do any of these conversations anywhere, anytime. I also think we have to really invest in building that human machine partnerships with fostering relationships, collaborations. We have to find ways to collaborate. And in that, I bring up maybe the idea of re-engineering how we work. We collaborate before a meeting, reduce the amount of meetings, and in meetings we actually assign tasks and jobs and a decision to be made. We start the meeting saying, "This is the decision we have to make today." And Joe, you're in charge of this. Alana, you're in charge of this. Break it all up. But before that meeting takes place, you have a collaborative document that's already been started and hashed out, and people could go in and edit. Going back to what we were first saying, like I said in the beginning, there's this art form that we're able to edit our thoughts in this autonomous life that we've now created. Collaboration needs to start there so that we could just dump and clean it up. It doesn't really work anymore in a free space. I would love to say that it could. Let's all just jump at a whiteboard, have a free space, and just dump, 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 dump. But I think first and foremost, what we have to do is get a piece of paper and dump, 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 and clean it up, and then go to the whiteboard. And that's where the magic happens. This is the way our brains are now working, where it didn't do that maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. So we need to change and flex to that. So I think it's about augmenting how we work and why we're working, coming back to the purpose. And then I think we need to bring well-being into the workplace as well and help redefine that. I feel that
Yeah.
we need to find ways to bring mental health support into HR practices using AI, and making it friendlier, because it's still very much a taboo topic. And just recently we had the World Mental Health Day, and I was thinking, how do I package this up with my engineers who are not all into mindfulness and they're going to roll their eyes, right? So I actually created another deck, but I applied it to a part of their brain and how they can actually sharpen it by relaxing and resting and trying to appeal to their scientific academic part of their brains to make the
Fantastic. That's fantastic. And I mean, especially Anastasia here, she's a psychologist and
okay.
she's actually doing exactly this. So, Anastasia is giving resilience trainings, mental gym workshops. Um, this is exactly what you are talking about.
Yeah, so what I had done, similar to the banana bread, was I gave him a presentation and I said, hey, let's put aside mindfulness and let's just talk about the parts of our brain that builds tenacity, resilience, and perseverance. And just went deep dive into that. And somehow I pulled in a sense of wonder and that deck as well. I'm reading this new book and I'm not very far into it, but it's called Tracking Wonder by Jeffrey Davis. And I'm in the part of the book right now where it's just talking about cultivating wonder. And I'm recognizing what we think of wonder sometimes as curiosity, but it's actually not. It's about actually creating the space for surprises to emerge. And he actually goes into this one exercise that you might appreciate, Anastasia, but he makes you actually think about your 7-year-old self and recognizing that your childlike self is not jaded with all of what we've crammed into our headspace as adults. And we actually have a very clean canvas for wonder to emerge. And when you can actually get yourself to that 7-year-old self, it's amazing what comes out. I then saw things from totally different perspectives. The darn weed of a dandelion in my front yard now looks like the most beautiful thing. I want to yank it and make a wish. Where before I was like, that darn weed, it changes your perspective, but the more you can reflect on it and share and let it like go, the more it ripples and creates more wonder. It's actually a really cool skill that I'm really like excited
Super cool.
It's
about.
really cool. Yeah. I mean, we're all children in the end of the day, right? So we grow up, our body. My mom told me like the other day. She says my body ages, but I feel like I'm still 17, and I can relate to her right now because like you look at yourself in the mirror, but you still have and you have more experience, but we are still those kids. As long as our memories allow us, we're still those children. We just have to behave very seriously because the society says so, because we say to each other, our parents used to tell us, you're a big girl now, like behave seriously, right? But we don't have to do it, at least not all the time.
Yeah, it's so strange how we've kind of morphed into that. So
Yeah.
kind of going back to talent mobility, I feel like we have to merge like technical acumen to strategic thinking to communication skills, and then my favorite topic, change management. Like that's probably the trickiest of all. Here we've been talking about communication, but
It is.
change
It is. And it will forever be. It will forever be the trickiest.
change is hard. Even when people have a baby or get married, it's hard. It's a change of lifestyle. It could be your most amazing day, but it's still hard to make that shift, right? And so change is a hard one to embody. And human beings can only have so much change, right? So I think that the HR landscape is going to go through a huge metamorphosis in the next like 5, 10, 20 years. And I really hope that more HR operators are able to jump on the bandwagon without so many rules and policies holding them back, because I do see a gender gap. More men are gravitating to it than women, and a
Yeah.
lot of HR is held back from it. A lot of people just need to learn how to navigate it.
Yeah, and this is where the trainings come in. I think this because there is such a huge array of different AI systems and AI companies. It's so overwhelming. You need a consultant or a company who can walk you through it in a shape of a training or something like that. Because otherwise, who has the time and desire very often to sit and look what's up, what new AI system is there today, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think there is so much, and especially what excites me the most is
Mhm.
actually really this outlook to the future. Is that what you have said, Anita, as well, and you, Anastasia? We really don't know what is actually waiting for us, but we know that change is coming after us. So it has already started, and so many roles are going to change, so many new job opportunities are going to pop up. And especially, as you just said, Anita, the HR landscape is changing completely. And I'm super excited to see in which direction this is going to go. But for today, I would really like to thank you because this was just a fantastic discussion. And we were diving deep into all of these topics, starting from communication over AI, leadership, and then moving into talent mobility. I mean, I have learned so much, and I believe our listeners did as well. So thank you again,
Thank
Anita, for
you.
being our guest today.
So fun.
And I'm sure that we will speak again very, very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This was fun.
Thank you.